get all the orange fancy clothes y'all could find.
Hariom. Hariom. A warm welcome to you all for this unique talk this evening entitled Women Without Walls. We're very blessed in Chinmaya Mission to have access to some tremendous female acharya role models that emanate an inner Shakti or strength that draws many of us to them for guidance. And indeed, Swamini Supriyananda ji is no exception. To those who may not be familiar with Swamini ji, before adopting the path of sannyas, she was a psychologist in Australia. And for the last 20 years or so, she's been serving as an acharya of Chinmaya Mission Hong Kong. Swamini ji is the mastermind behind many in our wonderful range of children's books and has developed and grown Shishu Vihar globally, our increasingly popular class for babies and toddlers. And Swamini ji has been here all week conducting sessions for all ages, but we're delighted that she's able to specifically address our concerns as modern women this evening. Finally, please do ensure that your mobile phones are turned to silent. Hariom.
Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sat Gurave Namaha. In Advaita Vedanta, the highest truth is described as without any qualities and as non-dual, meaning there's only one without a second. The no qualities means there's no form, there's no name, there's no kind of causation, no kind of description that we give to it. If we give truth a particular form, it only serves as a symbol to indicate that which is beyond the form. And any form would do. However, the rishis, when they did give a form, put a lot of science into it so that in that particular shape, symbolism created a gateway to a vast expanse of knowledge. This truth, which is non-dual, this is truth which has no kind of quality and description, becomes very hard for us to understand. And so we personalize it and usually call or think of God as having some kind of qualities, even if not a shape, then having the qualities of compassion or having the quality of power. From the point of Advaita, even these descriptions reduce the purity of what truth is, because any description creates a limitation. Since our minds need to understand and have something to hold on, descriptions do get given. Symbols get created as ideals towards the ideal. Even in terms of the philosophy, this truth, because it does not have a form, we would never be able to experience in a form. Since we have a form, we associate with form. This form is explained as Prakriti, matter. Only matter gives form. And if you see this, it's usually depicted as Shiva being the life force, the sentiency. Sentiency is not an everyday word. It's usually used only in philosophy. Sentiency basically means it can feel. It has the ability to think and experience. And so we are sentient, but matter, like the table and the carpet, is inert. So this sentiency in itself is depicted as Shiva and cannot be experienced. To us, in an everyday way. But when it merges with, as though, matter, Shakti, then a form is created, and that form is given sentiency. And when we see sentiency through that form, we can somewhat recognize it. And the ability for any kind of movement is also Shakti. So today, we're going to be focusing on this Shakti aspect, which is depicted as feminine. So truth is without form. However, when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we definitely have a form. This form is Prakriti, Shakti. It's a feminine power, or depicted as a feminine power. I've used Shiva and Shakti But when we talk about feminine powers or feminine forces, they get depicted as three main goddesses and not understood in its entirety or in its depth. And so we're going to explore here today a little bit about seeing them from a wider perspective. And even though I may use the word her as referring to the traditional image that we associate with Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati, they're not people or distinct forms. They are forces that exist in the universe. Just as Varun Devata could be seen as a particular form, but actually is water wherever it exists. And water doesn't have the shape of a person. It does have a form, but not the form of a person. So here too, when we say Durga or Lakshmi, there's a particular form that's traditionally thought of. And so we're going to steer away from that to understand it more as a principle that exists in the cosmos and functions and is depicted as a feminine force. So, as I mentioned, three main, and most of y'all would be familiar with them. So the first being, as I just mentioned, is that big enough for you to be able to read? Yes? The form of Goddess Durga. So before I tell you anything, we'll start with you telling me what you already know and understand about Durga. Something you must know. Strength, power, strength. So if this is not legible, it's also going to appear miraculously on the screen very soon. Okay, strength. If that's too distracting, we won't do it. Okay, look at me. What else? When you think of Durga, what do you think? In energy? Destruction of evil? Power? Mother? Compassionate? Anger? I think that's more Kali. Endurance? Tolerance? Can we do it just there? Tolerance? Love? Protector? Anything else? Guide? Destruction for reconstruction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, courage. Fearless. Oh, I wrote too big. So many, right? You initially might not have thought that she depicts all these qualities. I'm not going to write that down and you'll see why later. Anything else? No? So Durga does represent all these things. And have we ever thought of strength as a feminine power? Have we ever thought of courage as a feminine power? Endurance, destruction. In terms of how we see power, it can exist in so many different ways. So since we're talking about cosmic forces and cosmic principles, power exists first and foremost in that scenario as all these elements that we have. Wind can be so extremely powerful, can cause such havoc. Water. If you go swimming in the ocean, the waves, one can throw you forward, but even if you're in very shallow water, the pull that takes you back, that the water is going back into the ocean, even in very shallow water, can make us move. Shakti, Durga. Not a person, but it's the very principle that's existing outside in so many ways. Like standing there in the ocean and just to be able to appreciate and dwell on that force and strength and to see it as Durga principle. Even in terms of that it's a form. The ocean in its vastness is a form. And all form gets its shape from Prakriti, matter, Shakti, Durga principle. And so even when we're appreciating the beauty of the waves rising and falling, or being able to be in wonder of the strength of that, either moving forward or pulling back of the water. And then to see that as Durga principle strength, and then to relate it back to me. Now it really doesn't matter if we are biologically male or female. But sometimes, when people feel particularly victimized or vulnerable, then it's very helpful to see it as a feminine force as it's depicted as a feminine force. How vast is that ocean that has that strength? And then to be able to tap into it and know that it exists within me as well. That same amount of strength, the same vastness of that strength. In wind, it can be so gentle and soothing. And it can be so powerful and compelling. In that area of the world, in Manila, Hong Kong, China, we're constantly getting typhoons. And a signal will go up, which is when it's not even that strong, to say to keep all kids at home. Because literally, they fly away in the wind. And if the signal goes up even higher, or when it reaches highest, an adult could be blown away by the wind. The extent to that force, when we see it in nature, there's something very regal about it and very beautiful about it. And that's the strength that we want to have. The strength that has that beauty and regalness about it. Not a strength that's manipulative and aggressive. We want a strength that we can revere, adore, respect. And so Durga principle is these forces. And strength manifests in different ways. It can be in terms of its action, like in the ocean and in the wind. And it can be in terms of its stillness, like when seasons continuously change, but nature's able to endure the harshness of winter and come back in spring, vibrant. And to think of that as a force that exists within me, as a feminine force that I can tap into just because of the identification of feminine. Because even though Vedanta will repeatedly tell us we're not the body, we identify with being women. And if we anyways identified with being women, when we need strength, to think of it as feminine. When I think of it as feminine, then I have it. As a woman, I have it. It's a feminine virtue. It's a feminine force. And yes, many of what you said, strength is the ability to endure. Strength is the ability to have constructions. Strength is the ability to destroy what's no longer needed. And so I would add, she's detachment. Because to destroy, you need immense detachment, especially when you yourself created it. To have that clarity of thinking, of understanding when it's needed and when it's no longer needed. When I'm needed and when I'm no longer needed. And the ability to protect. The ability to protect what I believe in, what I stand for, what I know to be right. Far too often, feminine gets depicted as meek. Durga's not meek. There's a story about when she appears in front of a castle full of asuras, and she's sitting there on her lion, and she just waits. And of course, they don't understand who she is, and they get tempted by her beauty and invite her in. And she refuses to go and says, if you want me, first you have to fight me. And she just waits. In the story, she's waited 3 days before they take her seriously. Not meek. Then they highly offended that how dare she come here and threaten us in our own home and charge. And then, of course, Durga's stories is she is a warrior. She destroys. Not meek. Knows how to be noticed. Knows how to be efficient. We can draw strength from this depiction. We can also draw strength from the fact that she's not a person. She's all these forces that we see as strong in nature. And to even the sun, when the sun shines really bright, we can't look. It's that strong. And if we stay there long enough, our skin burns. And if you're delicate, darling, you'll get headache. That strength, it's there all the time in nature, operating as a feminine force. We may not think of the sun as a feminine force, but it has a shape. That's Prakriti. It's made out of elements. Elements are Prakriti. Everything in creation is actually feminine. Creation can only exist because of feminine force. So if we're experiencing it in creation, its wonder, its beauty, its strength, it's feminine. And whatever quality I need to draw from it to imbibe to help me in that moment, sometimes I need to tap into it because I need strength. Sometimes I need to tap into it for detachment. Sometimes I need to tap into it for courage. Whatever it is, that quality that I need. In nature, they all exist. And so to be able to see it in a different way, to be able to stand on the shore of the ocean and think, Goddess. To be able to feel the wind and think, Goddess. To be able to look out and think, what a beautiful sunny day, Goddess. She's pervading all of creation. And so too she represents pervasiveness. It's not something small, it's something vast. I'm not something small, I'm something vast. The more we tap into the cosmic principles or cosmic energies, the more expansive we become. The more we're able to draw from it what we need in that moment. And we'll continue with the next one. Lakshmi. So once again, first you tell me what you think. Well, that came super quick. Lakshmi's raining money. Prosperity. Same, no? But yeah, we can write it on there. We can do another slide for Lakshmi here. Virtues. Sorry. Yes. She most definitely is. Same as this one, or different kind of protecting? It's the same kind of protecting? Yes? Possibly, yes. Possibly. Okay, we can put that. Devotion. She's devotion. I'm going to put that here and then we'll talk about it. Loyal. She's both fickle and loyal? She can only be one, no? Fickle or loyal? She's compassionate. Same as here, right? Intelligent. Some are saying no, she's not. Yes. Knowledge is Lakshmi or knowledge is Saraswati? So Lakshmi is wealth. Is knowledge also a wealth? She's all types of wealth. Knowledge is quite a necessary wealth, much one, maybe more wealthy than dripping gold. She drips gold too. So earlier we said virtues. Virtues, values. Even to understand the depth of values, knowledge is needed. So giving it and protecting it, living it, showing it.
We haven't said wisdom. Because wisdom comes with Lakshmi.
Is Lakshmi wisdom? It's not usually the word that people think, but most people didn't think knowledge was either. We like to compartmentalize. She's calm. Yes. Can I change that to carefree? It's more the spirit of Lakshmi. She's more dancey, free. Anyone else? Pure, I think. Sorry, you did say it before. Extremely charismatic. Very, very charming. And actually, the main thing about Lakshmi is resources. You can even put an equal sign next to Lakshmi's name. Resources. So very quick in terms of Puranic understanding. Brahmaji is married to Saraswati. Brahmaji creates. In order to create, you need knowledge. Vishnu sustains. Married to Lakshmi. In order to sustain, you need wealth. We think of wealth as money. And she has. Lakshmi is every resource. Money is a resource. Gold is a resource. Today in the world of dentistry, they use it because it's a purer metal to have in your mouth that you're constantly digesting. It's not just a resource because it's shiny and you wear it as jewelry. It's used in so many different ways. So resources are wealth. And the other most prevalent resource is knowledge is a resource, yes. Nature, all our food, our herbs, some just because they taste good, some because they're medicinal. Resource? Yeah. But it goes even more than that. Okay. It's even more than the herbs and the food and the shelter that we get from earth itself, right? We have a home is a resource. Land, so incredibly valuable. And how we look after it determines if it stays. Some soils are so fertile, so many minerals. Okay, but y'all haven't nailed it yet. What's the most important resource? Very good. Time's a wonderful resource. Water, part of nature again. Food, water, breath. We could think of breath as a resource. Air, life, okay. Sorry, somebody said it and I think it got missed. Humans. People. People, our greatest resource. Simplest example. New mom with a kid. Needs grandparents to look after her. Today we don't know the answer to something. We'll Google it. But a person put the information up on Google. To organize this talk today, somebody had to make the flyer. Human resource. Somebody had to get the word out. Somebody had to clean up. set up the chairs. Our talents, our skills, our passions are our greatest resource. Any company, any even household running with maids and stuff will tell you, so important to get the right person for that job. So all our skills, all our abilities, and our willingness is Lakshmi. Our ability to network from a very business standpoint of view, but from a more social point of view, our ability to get along, to connect, to relate. This is Lakshmi principle. Lakshmi's a social butterfly. She loves meeting different people. They all resources, not in a manipulative kind of matlabi kind of way, but you just, you know so-and-so, and you know this one has a talent, and you don't know, you have an idea for, and I know a friend who always has great ideas, and you call them. Just you want to get together for Friday night and watch a movie. This is not what's the translation for matlab? Is it selfish? Ulterior motive. Ulterior motive. Right? Not from that point of view. Just a sense of community point of view. Yeah. Of course, everything can have a negative aspect. We can have people who are manipulative and have ulterior motives. And every virtue has its shadow side. But here when we adoring and revering and respecting Lakshmi, it's this aspect of communication skills. It's a resource. The ability to connect and relate, it's a resource. And again, when we think about wealth, the different types of wealth that she embodies, or the principle of Lakshmi embodies, is a lot of them are up there already. One would be purity. Purity is an immense wealth. Even commercially, when you have a pure gold something, or when it's undiluted coffee, or when it's, we appreciate it more, right, in its purest form. And for us too, when we see purity in a person, maybe not so much we can recognize it in adults, but when we see it in a child's face, we look again. We look again at the child's face because purity is such a wealth. It's so beautiful. It's so attractive. It's so captivating. Purity is a wealth. Beauty, I'll come back to. Devotion is a wealth. And then there's a few that are not up there. What else is a wealth which is not money?
Reputation.
Yes, and Lakshmi is that, our social standing. The way in which people describe us. Called as kirti in the scriptures. So not fame, as in Michael Jackson fame, but how am I known just in the circle that knows me? So if somebody says my name and somebody else says, oh yes, I know, she's very, and then we want to know. what's the word they're going to use. That's our fame. That's our kirti. Yeah. Okay, now this is so simple. I cannot believe you haven't guessed it yet. Wealth. Love. Love would be our greatest wealth. Lakshmi principle. The ability to be able to love because she is generous. Lakshmi principle is abundance. And that's why I hesitated to say fickle. In her abundance, nothing's less. Everything's included. It's not like she's leaving one for another. Lakshmi's abundance, both are included. It's never going to run out. It's never going to be less. But when we fail to be able to understand and are not able to invoke Lakshmi principle, we're not able to tune into it, then it doesn't exist in our lives. So people may start off invoking the spirit of giving, generous, purity, love, and then selfishness creeps in. And selfishness pollutes like nothing else. And wealth disappears. That doesn't make Lakshmi principle fickle. But in stories of the Purana, it's described to show people don't take it for granted. Although it's had a horrible negative connotation to how we empower ourselves as women. It was said to, don't take it for granted, money could leave you at any moment. Make sure you're continuously giving, make sure you stay loyal to Vishnu. But we remembered only, she's fickle. She's not fickle. She's abundant. If I lose my purity, if I lose my virtues, if I lose my ability to be generous, I've lost my ability to tune into Lakshmi principle. I've left. So, what love is a wealth. And not getting love, although it will come. Being able to give. Wealth means I'm able to give. Not wealth is I have, bas ho gaya, sit. Wealth is I can give. If I have so much money, I can give. Maybe I'm not giving in charity, I'm only giving to Chanel and beauty parlor, but I'm giving. So if love's a wealth, it means I can give. I want to be Lakshmi. I want to know that there's abundance and there's no shortage. And I'm filled with love, filled with virtues, knowledge, devotion, and therefore carefree. She walks with a bounce on her footstep. Nothing bogs her down. Because if I have a solution, there's no problem. She's all resources. She's only solutions. And so there's one last wealth that you haven't mentioned. Yes, health is definitely a wealth. I totally agree right now. One more. There's a whole list. It's so simple. It's going to be so simple. When the person says it, you're going to be like, oh. Time, yes, time is a wealth. I'm not disagreeing. It's not there. I didn't put there. I ran out of space. Also, these were the qualities of Lakshmi more than... Yeah, morals is up there already, virtues. I'm really surprised. Come on, London. You've got this. Huh? Not spiritual wealth. Well, it is a spiritual wealth, but... Yes, forgiveness is definitely a wealth. It is included in the virtues. Shall I just tell you? Okay, I'll give you all a clue. One of the first kids' books I have written is Little Yash Has Lost His. The ability to be happy is a wealth. And it's what we're seeking. Continuously, it's what we're seeking. So guess what Lakshmi is? That's why she shines. Lakshmi shines because she's happiness and she's love and purity. But we don't understand that shine, so we see gold. Look past the gold. The thing that really makes us shine is when we're happy. When we're filled with love. When we're putting that other person in front of us and that purity of our intention. All these depicted as feminine forces. Because everything in creation, if it exists as a concept, they exist as Shiva as well. Love is Shiva as well. Happiness is Shiva as well. But when we experiencing them in the world, if it's in creation, it's Shakti. Remember, it doesn't matter whether it's masculine or feminine. But when I feel I need to draw it on it as a principle, and I identify with feminine, it helps me to tune into it better. Because actually love, happiness don't have a gender. But if I worship and regard and revere as Lakshmi, it might help me identify with it more. And all these qualities is not a person but a force, and we imbibe it as feminine beings. And so every time I feel he doesn't love me enough, wait a minute. Lakshmi is love. It doesn't matter if he doesn't love me, I am love. Or when we go begging to someone else, please smile at me, please give me attention, please praise me, only then I'll be happy. No. Look at Lakshmi. She's happiness. She has that wealth. And so do I. That force is within me as well. Feminine power means I'm feminine. I have access to all of feminine power. There's one other thing about Lakshmi that I want to mention. Lakshmi is beauty. That's why I didn't elaborate on it when we spoke about Durga. Of course, Durga is beautiful. Even if you look at a storm, now thanks to National Geographic, you can see the pictures without actually being in the storm. It's so beautiful. But Lakshmi is that beauty of love, of joy, and the beauty that attracts us. And each one of us want to be beautiful. Male, female, both, doesn't matter. We may not want to be supermodel beautiful. That might become too much attention for us. But we want to radiate beauty. And another very interesting thing is, you may have had this experience. When you look at a face, any face, if you look longer, the face becomes beautiful. Again, National Geographic will have one really elderly man or woman on the cover, no tooth, lots of wrinkles, lots of freckles. And it's such an artistic, amazing shot. And people will say, how beautiful. Same man walking past you on the street. We don't stop in the street and say, oh, how beautiful. But when they make it on the cover, and we see the cover, the photographer had the eyes to capture their beauty. No, but even, most definitely beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But even if I don't know you, even if I don't particularly like you, if I keep looking, I will see beauty. And it's got nothing to do with the features of our face. Lakshmi. Beauty is there everywhere. The minute we look, we'll see it, we'll find it. And we tend to think to admire beauty or to appreciate beauty or to want to be beauty is superficial. These people are very... But beauty is not just decoration. Or even if it is decoration, it captures our eye. Right? So if I'm a devotee, I want the altar to look beautiful. In my home, I want it to look beautiful. When we dress our children, we want them to look beautiful. It's not to be disregarded as something superficial. It actually surrounds us. Again, if we go back to nature, so much beauty. Every face has beauty. Our personalities have beauty. When people come together, working for a higher cause, it's beautiful. When we see virtues, beautiful. People working cooperatively. We sometimes are very specific in the way we define things. To be able to understand Lakshmi principle is so vast. And that's why we revere her. We need all of this to survive. Remember, she's aiding sustainer. All of this is sustenance. Lakshmi is sustenance. Okay, we pause and Saraswati. If we can do this. Sorry, I have to turn around and talk, right? Otherwise you can't hear me. If we could do this one a little quicker, so that I can leave time for questions. Yes, knowledge. Yes. Can we associate that with knowledge? Yeah? Wisdom, intelligence. Sorry, say again. Ability would actually be more Lakshmi.
Musical?
Yeah. Art. Yes. So music, dance. Art. But more than art, she's creativity. Yeah? So we can. Quickly, quickly.
Beauty?
She is also beauty, yes. They all beautiful. Yes. Yes. She is all speech. And the eloquence of speech. Yes, definitely. She is purity also. Yes, she has the ability to meditate. She's actually all spiritual pursuits. So the desire in us to evolve is Saraswati. Virtues is Lakshmi. She's the foundation. But to take flight, that knowledge. So spiritual pursuits. And so you will see she's holding the japa mala, representative of all sadhanas, meaning practices that we do to help us spiritually. It's indicative, right? So it includes all of it.
Memory power?
Yes, she is. Memory. Yes?
Intelligence?
Yes?
Truth?
Yes. Although truth is also a virtue, but this is, you can say, PhD. Yes, meditation. Yes, very good. She has viveka, which is also linked, okay. Focus, concentration. Purity. Because she's creativity, I don't know if that would contradict, just thinking. Can be, because even in creativity we can be simple. More a virtue. Patience would be more a virtue, but yes, remember there's lots of overlap. It's not like it's compartmentalized, which is exactly my point. Yes.
Fluidity.
Yes. Yes, yes. Oh, I'm just going to put ishara now. Indicate. Huh? Again, love, but a different kind. Yeah? In fact, here more it's devotion because it's spiritual pursuits. Here it's more an abstract kind of love. Whereas Lakshmi is the interpersonal love. Here it's the love for art, the love for knowledge, the love for evolution, progress. Yes. Yeah. Why? Well, Lakshmi also sits on a pink lotus. She sits on a white lotus. Sometimes she sits on a swan. Pure. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful simplicity.
Simplicity. Yes. It's there. Simple.
Detachment.
Yes. Both. In fact, all. For destruction, you need detachment. Lakshmi also has detachment as a virtue and a wealth, because when we see the definition given of the 8 wealths that are representative in God, detachment is one of them. So detachment would be Lakshmi as well. And detachment would be here in Saraswati as well as the spiritual pursuit. So detachment would be in all 3. As a feminine force. And I'm reiterating this because many a times in scriptures, detachment is described as masculine. And that's one of the reasons I'm emphasizing that we can see it as feminine. Then we can own it. And actually each being, irregardless of our gender outside, have both masculine and feminine traits. And traits by themselves can take a more masculine or feminine trait. So Saraswati, because she comes last in the list, always gets discussed the shortest. Next talk I should do Saraswati first. Everyone here would already know the importance of knowledge. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on that one. And all of you are sitting here because of spiritual pursuit. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on that one either. Speech is most definitely a feminine force. Next time you have the thought about your husband, he never talks, guess why? That's just a joke. Irregardless of our body, we can have both. The reason I want to dwell on this one is because speech is such an important avenue by which we can perfect ourselves. And we're constantly doing it. All day long, we're using speech. Even if it's not through our vocal cords, in today's world, we're using speech on our gadgets. Speech is so incredibly powerful. It can completely demoralize a person. and it can completely uplift a person. And since we use it so much, if we see it as Saraswati principle, it may help us in being a bit more mindful. The principles available to us, we use and abuse it. Speech especially we abuse. So many times I'll catch myself. I could have said that better. Or if when I'm thinking how to say this, to tune into Saraswati principle. There's guidance that is given in terms of perfecting our speech. What to say, how to say it, and how much to say. What to say, how to say, you already understand. How much is a huge part of mastering speech. And then again, when to say it. And that's a lecture in its own, to master speech. But the point I want to make here, Saraswati ji, as creativity, as intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, and as speech, is also another incredibly important ingredient in our lives, which is humor. When I tell kids, teenagers, adults, to come up with a play to depict a particular virtue or value, quite easily. Reiterate a story, easy. If I give the task, come up with a play that's funny. We struggle. The ability to have humor is a skill, and we can develop it. And it's so incredibly powerful. In now you have IQ and EQ, and we've understood that it's more than just logical processing of thoughts. And in this, they have found that the highest form of intelligence is humor. And humor that does not belittle or criticize. The highest form of intelligence. And we ourselves, if somebody has a great sense of humor, we want to be their friend. We want to be at the table that they seated on. Because we want to laugh. We don't necessarily think of it as a skill that we can cultivate. That we can invoke and get better at. And again, everything gets so beautifully tied in. Sometimes to destroy a negative situation or a very intense situation, humor works so much better. It avoids hours of discussion, which is usually a painful discussion. Lakshmi ji, with her happiness and wealth and her ability to attract humor, and Saraswati ji, because it's intelligent. You need to be smart. I remember when somebody was asking Guruji about how he can tell who's paying attention in his class and getting the points quickly. And he said, they're the first ones to laugh at my jokes. They get it quicker. They laugh before other people laugh. Irregardless if we see it as feminine or not, to invoke it. We can invoke Durga when we need the strength and courage. We can invoke Lakshmi when we need to feel purity and forgiveness and virtue and abundance and generous. We can invoke Saraswati when we want discrimination and purity and devotion and humor. And so today, more than go into issues of women all over the world, what I wanted to do is to introduce you to these forces that are already available so that we can tap into them and be able to get the answers, because each situation will be different and unique. And we can do so by, first and foremost, seeing these concepts as they play in nature. And right now it's spring and it's so pretty. You've got these beautiful pink trees and white trees and flowers. Lakshmi. And so as you see the beauty of spring and you're enjoying that beauty, Lakshmi. Not a person. Principle of beauty. When you see a generous act, a very friendly, fun-filled, carefree person, Lakshmi. When you see someone stand their ground and refuse to give in because they have such an immense dedication to that cause, Durga. Next time you're at the ocean, Durga. When you see thunder and lightning in the sky, Durga. When you see art, Saraswati. When you hear humor and you giggle, Saraswati. When you're inspired to do a practice that will uplift you, Saraswati. When we see somebody else who's geniusly intelligent in their field. Sometimes these kids, I won't know how to put that wire in to make the projector work, and they choo, 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 choo. Saraswati. I remember when I first started texting and I would use one finger. The 12-year-olds were like, we're going to be here all day by the time you finish, Swamini. They whipped out their phones and they showed me how to hold the phone, and they showed me, and then they made me practice. Efficiency, the ability to imbibe that knowledge and practice it, even for simple things, and then of course for the more profound things. Saraswati. Invoke them not as these figures that we've accustomed to seeing. Invoke them as cosmic forces that exist outside and, very importantly, exist inside. And so I'm going to pause here for today, and I'll leave the last few moments for questions. Yes.
I struggle slightly with the word invoke. We hear it a lot. Is invoke thinking? Is it believing? Is it...
It's like tuning. Tuning is Have you seen musicians tune their instruments?
Mm-hmm.
So when we tune our mind to a concept or to a source of understanding, or, and maybe an easier example is when you know someone really well, you're in tune with their thinking. It's tuning into the concept of Durga. And somebody else might call her a different name. You can say strength. It's to let the mind rest in it and be settled in it. Yes. Yes, I did mention the word Kali. Somebody said fearful, angry. Yeah. And that's more associated with goddess Kali than Durga, actually. And yes, I haven't gone into the concept of what Kali is. Kali is rejection of any kind of imposed conditioning, or maybe I'm not articulating it that. Yeah, you can't tell her how to do or how to be. She's just going to be who she is. She doesn't want to comb her hair, she's not going to. Oh, gosh. Rejection of social conditionings. I don't remember what I said. I don't want to say social norms, because we don't want to reject social norms, but sometimes we do it out of fear, and we allow ourselves to be put into a box which doesn't fit us. Kali is that we don't need a box. Never mind fit into it. We'll just get rid of the box. Wonderful. If there's no questions, we might end with a short guided visualization. Yeah. Sitting up nice and straight. Taking a deep breath in. And gently breathing out. And allowing yourself to be more and more in this present moment. And thinking about whatever it is you feel you need the most in this moment of time. Maybe strength, maybe the capacity to love, maybe understanding, or any of the others that we spoke on. Whichever phenomenal force depicts that which you need, let your mind dwell on how that force appears in the world outside. allow that force we experience in this cosmos. And then think, what would it feel like inside of you? We've experienced it before, and we experience it outside. What does it feel like within you? And as you feel it, know that you already have it. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Asato ma satkamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Thank you all.